Hi, everyone. Welcome to Back for More. I'm your host, Amy. Today, we're talking about a marketing and sales habit that so many brands fall into, and it's one that can quietly erode both trust and profitability over time. We're calling it the coupon trap. At first, discounts seem like a quick win. They drive revenue, they get people in the door, but over time, they can condition customers to only buy on sale, they can erode your brand value, and then create a race to the bottom. So the big question is, what should brands be doing instead? Joining me today to dig into this topic is my colleague and good friend, Stan James, our Chief Revenue Officer here at Cinch. Stan brings such a great perspective from the sales side of the house, what's happening on the ground with brands and customers right now. All right, Stan, let's start at the beginning. Why do so many businesses fall into what we call the coupon trap? Why do they lean so heavily on discounting?
I think a lot of marketers traditionally fall into a spray and pray concept where it's like, hey, let's just send out the same discount coupon. Let's send out the same promotion and let's see what sticks. And there are inherent problems with that. I have a certain attachment to brands because they know me. It's easy to go just with what they know.
Right. Yeah. So my follow-up question to that is, what are some of the problems? What's the damage that it can cause to a business by leaning on that strategy?
I think the top two that come to mind for me is I think their margins are slim. As a result, they lose money. I think they also lose brand loyalty. Like if they're applying the same kind of campaign where it's the same across all of their consumer base, not everyone's the same. They don't communicate the same. They don't want to be communicated to the same. Some want a coupon, some don't care. They have an affinity for the brand. I think just it causes a loss of revenue, and I think you lose loyalty.
Yeah, you do lose loyalty. I was thinking one of the things that I see happening the most is that they're basically training their customers to just look for the lowest price rather than look for the value, which I am a marketer. And as a marketer, you want to establish brand value. You want your price to be worth it. And so offering coupons where they're not necessary is just really defeating that goal. Yeah. Can you give me some examples that come to mind for you in terms of industries that you've seen rely heavily on coupons or heavy discounting? It doesn't have to be a coupon, just heavy promotions.
Yeah, I just go to what I get in my mailbox. I get a ton. I guess I should say my inbox, digital inbox, and then my physical mailbox. So tons of credit card promotions. I get a lot of quick lube or car service related promotions. I often get hearing aid promotions. I'm getting old. I don't know how they know this.
Targeting you.
But as soon as I turn 50, I got all the old stuff. It's kind of an odd thing, but it happens. So I get a lot of promotional components there. And then on the digital inbox, it does seem to be a factor of just people who acquire lists from other purchases that I've made, and maybe it's tangential in nature or close enough to where I could be a potential buyer. So I get a ton of pizza ads, restaurant type ads. And the traditional promotion I get is what you would see: get 20% or BOGO, buy one get one.
So usually it's going to be the exact same coupon, the exact same discount to anybody that happens to see the ad. It is not a coupon specifically for you, Stan, because we know you like XYZ.
almost never.
I think for us at Cinch, since we both work here at Cinch, we find that I think you mentioned Quick Lube is an industry that uses a ton of discounts, almost as just a standard piece of their business model. And we've seen some customers come in and they're doing what you're saying, spray and pray. And best practices in marketing and business, running a business now, spray and pray is not the strategy, but we see it heavily in those industries and they rely on it.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, how would you say that a brand can know if their promotional strategy is effective? Those brands that are sending you ads, what marks success for them?
Yeah, I think that's a hard question to answer. And I kind of think about it from the perspective of what is their overall strategy with the data. I don't know. If you're not tracking it, you don't know. And I think they're just dollar in, what comes out. They're kind of looking at it at a macro level. Attribution and understanding effectiveness of campaigns is probably one of the hardest things any marketer will do. And the challenge inherently in the market is A lot of the companies that I talk to have disparate systems. They don't talk. So if you're sending a direct mail campaign, and then maybe later you're sending a text campaign, and maybe later you're sending a mail, like a physical, not a physical, but a digital email campaign, they're not necessarily attached to each other. So how do you know the direct mail impacted maybe an email, which impacted potentially a text? How do you know? You don't, because they're disparate systems. They don't talk to each other. So it's hard. It's a hard challenge to solve. And that's why I think solutions are really important that can provide that omni-channel approach. One, let's acknowledge that it's hard to do. Two, if you're not tracking it, you won't know. And three, it's just a traditional way of marketing. I go back to the spray and pray. It's like, hey, let's just send out all these coupons and let's see what sticks. So we had a customer that was really trying to figure out, and this goes back to spray and pray, like, how effective are my coupons, my digital coupon strategy? Not just the digital side, but also the physical coupon strategy. So they were sending out, or they wanted to know how effective my ad campaigns are. So they were sending these digital coupons out. They were getting redemptions for those coupons, but they just didn't know whether or not it was coming from the physical location or the actual ads that they were running or from anywhere else. Well, they dug into it and they started to get smarter about their digital coupon strategy, and they found out that their store managers and technicians were throwing out coupons randomly.
Like at the counter?
At the counter.
Just scanning
it?
Yeah.
And they were able to start training their store managers on, hey, this is what to do. This is how you approach it. And they're trying to get to a point where it's not just an automatic, here's a coupon, because that's eroding their margins.
Right.
So there's a lot that goes into it, but going back to tracking and being able to know how effective your campaigns are is so critical in today's time.
Agreed. I think, marketing is hard, and there's a lot of different things that you can be doing at any given time. And especially for a local business, their goal is to get people in the doors, get people paying. Mm-hmm. And one of the first things you think of is, let's do a sale, let's do a promotion. Even in tech marketing, which we're in, I still get that request a lot. What kind of promotion can we offer?
Yeah.
And when you're in the middle of doing a bunch of other things, you're just going to that's why spray and pray exists. You're just going to throw out whatever you can get to work. And then when it does work, you have no idea why. Was it my ad? Was it my email? Was it the guy at the counter just scanning it? What really is driving the results for this campaign? And single-use coupon codes is really the solution. Yeah.
I mean, it is a simple solution.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm hearing two things from you so far. Number one is that you need to make coupons trackable. If we're going to go with the discounting rate, and some industries do that a lot, make sure that it's trackable and you're not just giving the same offer to everybody. And then the other thing that I'm hearing is that a business needs to make sure that they're offering the right promotion, the right discount, the right offer, whatever you might call it.
At the right time.
At the right time, yeah. I get a lot of emails from places I've had my oil changed in the past, because they have my customer information, really easy to reach out to me. But man, do they not know how to time it. They don't have any clue what kind of car I'm even driving.
Yep.
Heaven forbid I was driving a Tesla and then they'd be offering to change my oil when I didn't even need it. So I know we touched on this a little bit, but let's reiterate and dive in a little bit more. What does the shift need to look like for businesses? What should they be doing instead of defaulting to these blanket discounts?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I think there is a very simple and strategic way of approaching a promotional coupon type strategy and just generally just overall marketing. I do think it's really key to have the foundational elements in place. And what I mean by that is, what is your data strategy? How are you collecting the data? How are you merging the data? How are you really getting to know your customer? There is so much information on your customer already. It's how do you stitch it together to make it work for you? You have a great marketing strategy. And most marketers that I work with, they're super smart. They know what they want to do. They're just handcuffed. They can't do it because the data is not structured in a way that they can leverage it. And so it's really critical to really have a really good infrastructure with your data strategy and then your technology to then enable you to do what we're likely going to talk about in more detail. How do you go and execute on it?
So as businesses are starting to make this shift, do you have a suggestion? You're sales and I'm marketing, so we should have some great perspective on this.
Yes.
How should the sales and marketing areas of a local business whether it's multi-location or just a single mom and pop shop, how should they be aligned on a strategy for promotions and discounts and coupons?
When I think about alignment, I think first and foremost, we've got to remember what we're being aligned about, which is the customer.
Right.
At every facet, every interaction, it has to be about delighting the customer. First interaction, how do we engage? Is it the spray and pray, or is it something a little bit more unique or personal? We may not know much about the customer at that time, but through the customer journey, we're going to find out a lot more. And the more we learn, the more personalized we're going to be able to be, which means a more meaningful interaction. And frankly, if there's anything I want as a consumer, is I want a personalized experience. So the one example I think most recently, a couple of years ago, my wife and I bought 2 e-bikes. I won't say the brand, but we love the brand still. But I had, in the first 6 months, been bombarded with texts, emails. I'm just this brand new buyer. We love the bikes, but I mean, I didn't know if I needed accessories. I didn't know if I definitely didn't want to buy a new set of bikes at a certain discount. Were they offering a new bike? Oh, yeah. Different iterations of the bike. The problem with that is that it was not timely. It wasn't personalized. It just felt, I was disengaged with the brand. And so after probably 3 months, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to tolerate this. So I unsubscribed from email. So they lost their ability to communicate with me via email. And then the text started to flow through. And same thing, all their text was, communication was not relevant at all to the bike or bikes that I purchased. And ironically, like 2 months after I unsubscribed from text, I purchased a ton of accessories. And I just went to Amazon, just bought what I wanted. And it wasn't the brand, it was something else. But I didn't at that time need the accessories because we were getting acclimated to the bike. But again, the brand is something that the brand is one that we really like. It's just we've just completely stopped any communication with them as a result of just them not knowing me. So this goes back to having a really good data strategy and capturing data. It's being able to delight the customer at every interaction, and then it's being able to personalize it in a way where once we collect the data, and we're seeing marketers and businesses collecting a lot of rich data. Think about the transaction data. I'm thinking again about a simple example of, again, a quick lube. They come in, they purchase, a synthetic oil change. There could be an opportunity to upsell them because their car is up for renewal 2 months from the date of which I'm getting my car serviced. There could be a scenario where I need to adjust my windshield wipers or get new ones. There's a whole sort of opportunities to upsell. But if you don't know me and you don't understand how timely of those services are needed for me personally and the vehicle, frankly, that I have, it's just not going to work for me personally as a consumer. So just to recap, it's really about the customer. It's about having a really good data strategy. It's about alignment between sales and marketing with that data strategy. It's then how do we delight the customer so the customer is delighted at every level. And then it's about sending a timely communication in the way that the consumer wants to be communicated with that is relevant at the moment. So that's how I think about it.
It's funny because when I think of coupon and promotion strategies, you don't really think that the change that you need to make is data, but it really is. I've talked about golf a couple times on our podcast before, but I came from the golf world, and time and again, we had to train the golf courses to train their employees to collect that data. Without gathering that information, they couldn't offer personalized incentives. An example is golfers are very loyal to the brand that they like to wear. You don't wear a Nike hat with Titleist clubs. You can't do that. And so not capturing the brand that somebody uses was catastrophic, to use a term that I love when you use, because golf courses will have demo days for certain brands. You know, the brand will sponsor something and they'll have some golf and let you try out a product, but you don't want to send coupons for those products to somebody who's not even using that particular brand.
Right.
And yet a lot of the courses had every opportunity to collect that information, and they just weren't. And I think that was a really good example of a misalignment, especially in businesses where they owned multiple courses or locations of a quick lube or whatever it might be. And so those decisions for marketing are being made at a corporate level, and the guy at the counter doesn't always know.
Yep.
And so training them on that. I also think that, I'm a B2B marketer, but I run into the same challenge where myself and my team put a lot of effort into the positioning and the promotion that we're going to run. And it's so easy. I mean, we work right next to each other. It's still so easy for the people on the front lines to not know what we're saying on the back end, to not even be aware of what promotion it is. Okay, so Stan, because one of the services that we offer here at Cinch, or one of the tools we offer, is pricing sensitivity, I'm wondering if you can just walk us through that. What does that mean? What does that look like for a business?
First and foremost, I think about the data strategy. With a good data strategy, we can now know who our customers are. And just for a quick example, Cinch does a really good job in helping you automatically know who are your high-value customers and who are your customers that may haven't or may not have purchased much in the past, or it's been a while. So they might be on the lower level. So it could be like a 1 to 5 rubric as an example. But we know a couple things with the data, and especially with a business that's more transactional in nature. You'll see frequency. You'll see other signals like driving patterns. If you're thinking about an automotive example, you'll see coupon redemption. So you asked about coupon sensitivity. I'm just going to use my household as an example. I have 2 kids at home that drive. I have myself and my wife, so we have 4. And fortunately for us, we have 4 vehicles, so I don't have to be the taxi driver. They can drive themselves, which is a blessing. But I will almost always require a coupon in some form or fashion. I'll always ask for one.
Right.
My wife absolutely resists asking for anything. But if you ended up as a brand sending a coupon to her, why would that happen? If you do that, you're going to lose money because there's not a need for that. So coupon sensitivity is an example of knowing that person's behavior and whether or not historically and through the data they've made purchases, if they've brought in coupons. Whereas with me, you're going to see within the data a constant request in redemption code, likely for coupons every time I come in to get my car serviced. Cinch does a really good job in identifying those that have coupon sensitivity. So the value of having rich data and having that transactional data is you can now go and look and create a segment on, all right, who are my coupon sensitive customers? And only send a segment or a promotion to them. And by doing so, you bring them back in to the shop. They're going to likely need a coupon anyways to come in. And by not sending it to everyone else and maybe doing something a little bit more personal, a little bit more timely, you save you make more money and you have a better return on your campaigns and your promotions because it's unique to that person or to that vehicle. And that's actually really important. I'm giving you automotive examples, but when you look at the data, there's having, for example, a household concept and everything underneath that. It could be a veterinarian. You could have multiple pets with the same household, and those pets may be unique and different in terms of what is required for them. So it can be applied to any consumer-based business, but really understanding the patterns and signals by possession or by household is something that's really important.
Right. So you're not offering you a coupon on something that your wife would normally be handling. You're offering you a coupon for something that is for you. I'm interested in how the data works in Cinch. I really find it fascinating that you can look at a coupon and say, well, I only want to send coupons to customers that are high value. The data will tell you which of your customers offer the most value to your business, whether that's how much they usually spend, how frequently they come in, how recently they've come in, things like that. And so then once you're running a coupon strategy, you can say, okay, well, I only want to offer this to my coupon sensitive, but also high value customers. If it's a customer who rarely comes in, they hardly spend anything, I'm not going to waste my coupon strategy on them.
Yeah.
But for my Stans, I'm going to lose him if he doesn't come back in. And I also don't ask for coupons, as I've mentioned. But if I do get a discount or a coupon, it might make me spend more, or it might make me buy more frequently. Makeup, for example, if I see a discount or if I get a coupon for something that I'm going to buy, I might buy it again sooner. And it's interesting that the data can tell a business this is driving new business, this is driving retention, and then this is driving up the value of my customers. And I think that driving down the value of your customers is a real detriment to doing one of those spray and pray campaigns. Well, you're just ruining your margins. Why would you do that if it's not a coupon sensitive? They're not sensitive to the price. They're going to come back anyway.
And maybe they won't come back if you're continually, like if I get a coupon from, I'm going to continue to use my Quick Loop example, another competing vendor, I will probably go to them because I don't have necessarily a loyalty to the other brand. But I will say I have seen scenarios, just again, using me and just my personal journey with brands, I do have an affinity towards brands that know me. And you know them by having timely responses based on patterns and signals. I just go back to a good data strategy allows you to see the patterns, allows you to see the signals. And you see that with the transactions that happen within your location. And I will say there are scenarios, it's pretty rare, but there are scenarios where I'll just go because I have had a good experience. They delight me in some way. It doesn't take a lot to delight a customer. We really can't action or execute without good data.
It seems like you really like your e-bikes.
Yep.
And were they not to have annoyed you with untimely and irrelevant messaging, you might have stayed subscribed and continued to purchase things.
I can say with very high level of confidence, I would have purchased accessories for that bike had they been a bit more personalized and relevant.
Yeah.
So like, for example, if we had our bikes for 90 days, I don't think that would be untimely to send a follow-up. Hey, it's been 90 days. How you liking your bikes? We'd love to get some feedback. And then based on how I responded to that feedback, maybe there's something that tells them, hey, maybe this person has an interest in this or that as an accessory for their bikes based on my experience with the brand. Like you just have to have an opportunity. And sometimes it's just having a strategy. And this goes back to your data and your overall data and overall marketing strategy, which is, all right, after 90 days, send a communication. How do they respond to that? And if they respond favorably, send the next communication. If they don't respond favorably, you can still course correct. And that's the beauty of it. If they have a personalized exchange with you and it's a negative exchange, that allows us to go back to yet have another opportunity to delight them in a way to give them something of value. And it could be a simple, we're sorry for your experience. Here's a 30% discount off. And then once you have the delight phase figured out, you can start cross-selling and upselling.
Right.
Like, hey, you like this. Here's maybe something else that you would enjoy. And that gives you a lot of cross-sell opportunity. And we have customers, and I'm thinking of a couple, but one in particular, you know, they're a pest control company, but they have a really good, I think, loyalty, loyal fan base, so to speak, with their company. And they sent out a campaign to cross-sell pest to mosquito. And they had one campaign go out, and they had huge open rates. And the reason why their open rates were so strong is because their communication was just rock solid.
Yeah.
Like if your open rates are in the low 30s, like you're doing, in my opinion, something off. Like if you're in the high 60 plus in open rates, you're probably on the right track. You're probably communicating, providing relevant information, providing timely information, and it allows you to then have that opportunity to cross-sell. And in this case, they were able to pay for Cinch within one campaign. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's got to feel so
And
good.
on the flip side of that, I recently received a text from an automotive company for, again, a Quick Loop. And it was, hey, your car is due for service. Well, which one of the four? Like, it was really annoying.
Yeah.
And it's like, delete, unsubscribe.
Now you're going to go
Like,
somewhere else.
what's the use of sending me or attempting to capture information and then not give me relevant information? So when I mean personalized and really knowing your customer, what I would have liked to have seen is, hey, Stan, your 2007 Honda Accord is due for an oil change. We'd love to have you come in. Even there, if you go in and you decline those services, like I have, if you're really smart about it, a good strategy would say, all right, Stan, come back in. We saw that you didn't, buy that cabin filter and the air filter. We'd love to have you come back in. Here's a 25% coupon. Come back in. And interestingly enough, within 60 days, Cinch did a study on this. When you're sending out a campaign from a declined services concept, we have found that 5% return of those that you send a communication to within 60 days.
So 5% of the people who said no on the spot.
Who declined services,
Okay.
5% of them come back. And they spend more than the original value or order value that they initiated. So it's usually about 110%. So you don't do that. You don't get that kind of return unless you know your customer.
Right.
You don't have that. You don't even earn the right to ask for that opportunity. Because one, you don't have the data to support it. And two, you probably didn't delight your customer. And three, if you do delight your customer, I suspect that rate will go from 5% to, who knows, it could be double digits.
Customers like to feel like you know who they are.
Yeah.
And if you get an email with a coupon for a service that you just declined a week ago, I imagine not only is that more likely to bring them in, but it's also a really good way of solidifying that relationship.
Yeah, and if you have your communication that has, like I said earlier, the vehicle, what I declined, the store, like a lot of our customers have hundreds of locations. But if you're just sending me a random email, and again, I have 4 vehicles, remember, sometimes I don't even know where I went. But give me actually the store location and have the system automatically acknowledge where you've gone and what services you declined, and personalizing with the vehicle and my name and getting it right. Not Richard, not James, but Stan. That's a winning recipe.
So do you have any examples of a customer that you have worked with or know that we work with that was doing it poorly and has somehow made the shift that we're talking about?
Yeah, I would say that they weren't doing it poorly. They just couldn't do it effectively because of the way that they had their data structured. And their marketing strategy was just a challenge as a result of poor data. So maybe it was poor from a data perspective, not a poor strategy, because they're smart people. They have really good strategy and execution. They just couldn't do it based on the way their data structure was. And so this scenario, they had hundreds of thousands of records. And we were able to access through an upload and found that roughly 50% of those records were duplicates. Crazy. Think about being a marketer and trying to execute on a strategy and now knowing that 50% of your records were duplicates. That's just hard to fathom. And one of the things they had to do, they had a really strong loyalty program, but the challenge there is that they had to completely eliminate their email because they were kind of ticking off their customers by sending multiple emails, maybe not being as relevant as it should. Their point system was off. It just was frustrating customers. So they had to stop it for a full year. So Cinch was able to bring the data in, and within less than a few hours, dedupe hundreds of thousands of records. And the number one thing that I remember our awesome marketing executive said to me in the very beginning was, "I now trust my data."
Oh, what a breath of
It's
fresh
a beautiful
air for
thing
a
to hear,
marketer,
right?
yeah.
It's like, I trust my data. Now I can start executing. And the really cool thing is that we started, small, and then we built up. They had to build trust in Cinch before they could start really maxing the value. And so it's a little bit of baby steps at the beginning, but once they saw that their data was clean, once they saw really good results within just the first few campaigns in the first few weeks, they started building upon it. We added integrations, and now they have a really strong omni-channel story. And they added reviews shortly after, and within a few weeks, they saw that spike 5x. It was pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's pretty amazing what can happen when you have clean data, right?
Yeah, that is awesome. Well, it's funny, as you were saying that, I was thinking not only is it not effective because they're taking off their customers, but also especially automotive companies I found tend to send out their coupons in a mailer. They want it to go into the inbox. And for a lot of people that works. They just put it in their car and use it next time they want to go. But with that many, 50% duplicates, can you imagine how much money they must have been wasting if they were going to be sending mailers out? That's okay. So let's move on. I feel like we've done a pretty thorough job of talking about what the challenge is, what businesses are doing, why they're falling into that trap, what it means for them. We've talked a little bit about the shift that businesses need to make, focusing more on data, really keeping in mind the delight of a customer in order to have a promotional or a coupon strategy that's effective. I have some rapid fire Q&A questions now. You ready?
Yes.
All right, let's go. Okay. Question number one. One brand that you admire for getting this right. We've talked a lot about the brands that you think are doing it wrong. So
Oh, yeah.
how about one that's doing it right?
The closest I've seen so far is my gym. My gym is very familiar with how often I go. They see activities.
We're all familiar with how often you go to the gym,
They
Stan.
talk to me about my championships. But they personalize it. My communications they encourage me with, hey, haven't seen you in a minute. I mean, if I'm on vacation, I get communications because my patterns are pretty much daily. They know my name. They know certain workouts if I post them. So I just like how they personalize it and make me want to participate in other extracurricular things like contests and, just birds of a feather kind of a thing. And I have participated in that. And I kind of want to know if I'm progressing. And they encourage me to buy additional services. They upsold me on a certain service because there's something I needed. And they said, hey, this might be something you might be interested in. And I was. So I took advantage of it. And it gave them an extra $120 a year.
Well, okay, I know this is your rapid fire answer, but something that I have noticed with brands that are doing it right is that it tends to be e-commerce brands that are getting me with the accurate hooks. And it makes sense because they can see which products I'm viewing. They can see what I had in my cart that then I took out. It's a lot easier to get this right as a digital brand where you can track it every touch point than it is for a local business. That, again, coming back to the training with the collecting the data, I mean, they have to actively pay attention.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of examples of e-commerce brands that are doing a really good job of it. But I think the only non-e-commerce brand that I can say is doing a good job for me is Starbucks. I go probably as much as you go to the gym, maybe not quite as much, but daily. And they know exactly what I like. They know what I drink. They have a lot of information about me as a consumer.
They draw your favorite picture on the cup?
Today, they wrote favorite with an exclamation point and a heart. And I don't know if that meant it's their favorite drink, if I'm their favorite customer.
Is it different every time?
Every time. Yeah.
Delight.
Yeah. And that today they asked me how old my kids were,
Wow.
what I do for a living, how long I've done it.
Do they put that in a database?
I was wondering that actually as I was driving away. I was like, I wonder if they put in notes. We used to
that'd be
tell
cool
the
too.
golf courses to do that. We'd say,
Yeah.
if they tell you something about their kids, stick it in the notes. Then you can mention that next
Yeah.
time. You're probably not going to remember them, but you can make them think that you do.
That's cool. Yeah, I think I'm not a Starbucks guy, but I honestly don't think a lot of businesses have cracked that nut. I think it's a real struggle.
Yeah.
I go back to the why. It's bad data strategy. I think it's disparate systems. I think it's a whole host of different things that are causing it. It's hard. Like the marketing executives that I talk to are dealing with some real challenges. They come in wanting to change the way they engage with consumers, and it's a heavy lift. It's hard. But man, once you get there, you can do some really cool things and really get to that delight phase.
Well, and we're going that direction. Cinch is a customer data experience platform, but when we're talking about the data, we're talking about the data that they hold that helps them know which customers to reach out to and with what discount. But we're talking about the data of what is effective and what isn't. And as we mentioned, spray and pray campaigns are not going to be effective. But when people are looking at solutions for running their marketing, they're looking at marketing automation tools only, and they're really neglecting the data side of it. But the great thing for brands right now is that the tools are more advanced than ever. I mean, not only does Cinch normalize that data, make it accessible, allow you to be really creative with it, but it also does things like tracking how sensitive people are to price, tracking how valuable they are to your business, knowing at what time you should be offering things. So agreed that they're not doing a great job of it right now, businesses at large that are not e-commerce, but there is a path forward for these businesses. It's time to get more creative. It's time to put more effort into what you're doing.
And then when you do it correct, you have emotional attachment.
Yeah, right. I get doing specific discounts for a holiday or a birthday program, for example. That's not a ton of personalization. But when you're just getting the text that's the exact same discount to every single person, regardless of whether or not they need it or whether it's an item that they care about at all. Okay, last question. One first step a brand can take to move toward value-based incentives. And let me preface this by saying we've talked a lot about a lot of things, and I've found that once you start talking about data, it can be intimidating. Or all of the fancy things that you could do in a system that allows you to manage all of your data can be overwhelming. And you and I know that once you get into Cinch and you get your data cleaned up, it can be pretty straightforward. But for our listeners or our viewers who are hearing us for the first time, they want to change one thing and get started on a better path that's going to get them out of the trap.
I still go back to, do you know your customer? And do an audit. How do you engage with a customer? You spend a lot of resource and time to acquire a customer. What are you doing to then get to know them more? And just map it out. Look at the lifetime value of your customer from very first to the very last. How do you engage? Because honestly, if you don't have a sense of who your customer is, I don't think you can have an effective marketing strategy. I can tell you just from my own perspective, I try to run my business on data as much as I possibly can because I at least have a foundation to grow from. And it might be the wrong strategy, but at least I know it's wrong because the data's telling me something. So in a very similar way, if we have a good foundational element, I think it allows us to have predictability. And frankly, as marketing executives, as sales executives, we're all accountable to someone. We got to be able to show that we're adding value to the business, and part of that is just really knowing your business.
We're not going to mention the brand of your e-bike, but let's just say that maybe you're going to send this video to them.
Yes.
And you're going to tell them, start over. Let's start from the date of my purchase. Here's what you should have done. Maybe with Cinch, maybe without, maybe manually. What should they have done?
I would have liked to have had them engage with a kind of a ramp up, so to speak. We're brand new e-bike owners. Did they know that? Is a brand new e-bike owner different from one that has purchased an e-bike before? But knowing me as a buyer, I think would have been something that would have been helpful because I had all sorts of questions. I didn't know where to go. It would have been helpful to have a knowledge base. Like, hey, you're a first-time buyer. Here's a knowledge base, or here's some videos.
Well, they lost their ability to communicate with you. And so even if we're not just talking about ways they could have delighted you better, they're missing out on a lot of opportunities because they chose not to take the information that they know about you and activate that data and be more intentional with how they reach out to you.
And then activate the data that they have, but then get more.
Okay. It's been a pleasure. And for those of you listening, if you want to learn more about how Cinch helps brands build behavior-based marketing strategies, check out cinch.io. We've got tools like pricing sensitivity scoring and automated journey builders to help you move beyond discounts and into smarter engagement. And as always, if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave us a review, send it to your team. Thanks again to Stan, and thanks to all of you for listening. We'll see you next time on Back for More.